Martial. Herrera. Ibrahimovic! Oh my God, an insane goal! I've just seen the most insane goal I have ever seen on a football pitch. Balotelli. Aguero!
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Soccer Sharps, a soccer betting podcast. And George, we return now for the quarters. Only 8 teams remain, 4 matchups to break down. We'll be covering all of them and, of course, giving out our best bets and our official predictions and plays. And the best advice we can give you guys at this moment is to probably fade us because we got toasted in the round of 16. But to be fair, there were some massive upsets. Al-Hilal, the Saudis, out of nowhere from Riyadh, eliminating Manchester City, the giants of the Premier League and Europe. Very surprising one, that. It's amazing how I can take a future on a team and they lose outright immediately. So we love to see that. But George, before we dive in here, how you doing on this fine, what is it, Wednesday?
Doing okay, Dev. As you say, a little disappointed about the last round, obviously. Lost some units there. We were sitting pretty a couple rounds ago, and now we've gone ahead and taken ourselves into the negative. You hate to see it, but we're not too far negative, and we can bounce back with a winning show here in these quarterfinals. The quarters, baby. So...
Hey.
We got some tasty
your
matchups.
Boston accent coming through there.
Quarter. So we got some tasty matchups here, and I'm looking forward to capping these. Tricky as always, but I think there's some value to be had. Should we do the shameful looking at the recap of the last round?
Yeah, let's go ahead and throw it on the screen here. Our results from the round of 16, Devin 2-6. George with a 2-4 record. We're just losing units everywhere. Over 3.5 units in one round of soccer matches. As you can see, the combined tournament record, we are almost, we get a couple things to go our way. We can get this thing back into the positive. But I got slaughtered on Man City, as I mentioned before. That was a tough one for me. I had 2 bets on them, and neither came through. But, George, the tournament's been a lot of fun, right? It's been entertaining, aside from me cursing at the TV, throwing things. Aside from that, it's been pretty fun. So it should be entertaining, these next games. We got 2 kicking off on the 4th of July, which should be a lot of fun. We'll get to those. And if you guys have made it into this far, please give us a like, give us a subscribe if you're looking for this kind of content, more betting breakdowns and more just general predictions and outlooks on these soccer matches. We'd love to have you guys. So go ahead and give us a like, a subscribe. We'd appreciate that. And if you're in the chat watching this thing live, throw up a comment. Catherine in the chat says, I don't gamble. I just like the jokes. We appreciate that. That's probably the smartest thing you could do to save money at this point with the way our record's been going.
Yeah, that's right, Dev. Tough one. And I just want to toot my own horn here for a little bit. If you are in our Discord, then I did a little bit of a salvage play during that Man City debacle. Sounded like an unhinged lunatic for about an hour in the Discord saying, if he just puts Phil Foden on, they'll fucking win the game. Why isn't Phil Foden on? Oh my God.
You do sound like that when you're typing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's weird. And so... Eventually, finally, Phil Foden comes in, and I'm like, finally, it's happening. The prince who was promised. We're betting this now, guys. Foden, anytime goal scorer, plus 550. Boom! He scores 2 minutes later. It was my Babe Ruth moment. Greatest thing I ever did. We'll probably never hit anything fun like that again. But it did make up for some of the lost units there on Man City.
Bold play as well, because he came in pretty late in that game, so didn't have a lot of time, but did get on the score sheet. Pep unloaded the clip in that one. He put everybody out there. Maybe took a little bit too long to get him, but Al-Hilal, they looked so dangerous on every breakaway. And of course, haven't even talked about Bono, the singer from U2, and also the goalkeeper for Al-Hilal. But let's go ahead and dive in here, Jordan. Actually, before we get into the specific matchups, let's take a look at the futures to win outright. Right now, we like to do this beginning of every round. We've got Paris Saint-Germain as favorites of plus 250. Real Madrid plus 275. Chelsea at 4-1. Bayern Munich 6-1 Al-Hilal of Riyadh, 10-1, and Palmeiras 14-1. Anything stand out to you there, Jordan?
Al-Hilal, Dev, easiest side of the draw. Passed a big test already, and we'll probably get into it more, but the key thing about it was they passed the test without so many of their key players. So yeah, value there, I think. And then you can obviously hedge out next round if need be, or whatever, should they make it through this one. But yeah, generally I think everything else is about right. Nothing really crazy on there for it. I do want to mention, though, Dev, I forgot to say this at the top of the show. We are supposed to have our guy, Nick Diani, on the show with us tonight. He may or may not make it in here late, but we do have his picks. We do have his proxy. We will give those out at the end, as we always do with our own picks. But hopefully he joins us at some point through this, give us some more takes. But yeah, always... Again, I was tooting my own horn, forgot the point of it, was to say, jump into our Discord. If you're new to this show, we have a free Discord server you can jump into, get more plays beyond ourselves from other listeners and other cappers that we know. So it's a good place to be when you're watching matches.
Right on, Jordan. Well, let's dive into our first matchup here, and it is on the 4th of July. It's Fluminense of Brazil against the aforementioned Al-Hilal of Riyadh. This one is lined as a pick, although all of the juice is on Al-Hilal here, and the total is set at 2.5. Jordan, we talked about Al-Hilal's famous win there against Manchester City, but Fluminense pulling an upset of their own, defeating Internazionale Milano, taking care of business with them, and a bit of a surprise as well. So what do you think about this matchup kicking off at Camping World Stadium in Orlando, United States? Orlando, Florida. That's what I was looking for.
Well, Dev, yeah, I think it's fair that the juice is on the Al-Hilal side of this one on the pick. I kind of love that we're getting them as a pick. Look, I'm going to go with them in a sense with my play for this match, but make no mistake, it's not reactionary to the last round. We talked about it in the group stage, believed in them then, cashed a future on them to get out of the group. There's been a lot of talk about what a giant upset it was, but we have to remember that even though their league is weak and no one really watches it and no one knows about it, there's tons of money in it. They're a very expensively assembled team. They've got a ton of stars, really high quality players that they've, persuaded to come play over there for big, big money. There were a lot of them missing. Alexander Mitrovic, Neymar, of course, is no longer there, but was there last season, just still had injuries and whatnot. So they've gotten some big gets, and they have that midfield alone is worth a couple $100 million, the spine of the team, right, with Koulibaly, and then you've got in the midfield Neves and Milinkovic-Savic, really quality players. So maybe not one of the biggest upsets we've seen at the tournament. Remember, it was only minus 1.5 on the handicap, whereas we saw some other, minus twos. PSG were -2 against Botafogo. They lost. So to put it in a little perspective there, this is still a high-quality team, and I think they do have more quality than Fluminense. I think there could be goals in this game, as we've seen from both teams pretty much throughout the tournament. Each of them do have a 0-0, but outside of those, they have been able to get on the score sheet. So
I'm shaking my head at you, Jordan. I'm shaking my head at you because I'm looking. These two teams have each played 4 matches through this round. 3 of those have gone under 2.5 here for each team.
But they've only been blanked in 1 each, correct?
That may be true. Yes.
So they got goals in them.
Yeah.
And so I could see this being fairly open, but I'm just going to go with the stronger side, in my opinion. I'm going to take that pick where it's lined. 0.0 on the Asian handicap, minus 125 for Al-Hilal. If they make it to extra time, it's a draw. I push out. If they win it in the 90, I'm happy.
Yeah, Jordan, you take a look at the 2 advanced numbers here scrolling at the bottom of the screen. It is Fluminense minus 106, Al-Hilal minus 125. It's about the exact same as the pick market that you're mentioning before. And I think this is going to be a really tight match. Fluminense have a few clean sheets in them, right? In the group stage, they kept 2 clean sheets against Dortmund and the Sundowns. Obviously kept the clean sheet against Inter Milan. I think this is going to be a different type of game than Inzaghi wants to play, because both of these teams are kind of like, you take the ball, we will sit back and defend. Al-Hilal, of course, with incredible goalkeeper and central defender in Koulibaly. I mean, that guy's won everything. I can't believe he's still just playing in the Saudi league. He could easily be starting for like a European side.
Money, baby, money.
But so because of that, I'm going with the under 2.5 here. I just think it's going to be tight and slow. I could definitely see 1-1, could see both teams scoring, or even a 2-0 either way. I think we will get a little bit overcome with the big upset. We don't want to take a team that had such a big upset in the first round and think that, oh, now they must be world beaters because maybe they were just on their day, the better side there, which of course is impressive. But really good crowd support here for Fluminense, I'm sure, as all the Brazilian teams have had. And, kicking off at 3 p.m. local time in Orlando, it's going to be muggy. It's going to be hot. It's going to be pretty disgusting conditions. So that makes me think that maybe this thing does go under, and goals are really tough to come by as we get late in this tournament. Single elimination knockout, a goalie stands on his head like Bono, and let's not forget the Fluminense keeper, whose name escapes me. Oh, Fabio. The guy's 43 years old. He's the oldest player in the tournament, and he also had a massive game against Inter Milan. I mean, I cannot believe that Lautaro Martinez did not score in that match. That was crazy. But both of these great keepers, good defenses, both teams that want to play on the counter, not with the ball. To me, that spells out a slow match that is going to be pretty cagey. So I'm going to take that under 2.5.
Yes, never underestimate the powers of Fabio, the romance novelist.
Yeah,
Not
what's
novelist,
great is
cover artist. Cover art guy.
Yeah, that's right. Model, male model. It's funny, they've got we've got the male model versus the YouTube singer in goal on each side. It's pretty fun.
I love that.
We're gonna have to make a clip of that or something with both of those guys. All right, we're getting into dumb things. So let's move on to the late matchup on the 4th of July, and it's Palmeiras against Chelsea. This one sees Palmeiras as half a goal underdogs, and the total is set at a lower 2.25 here. Chelsea had the crazy match against Benfica where they were delayed for several hours and then came back and then had to go to extra time, but they were pretty much in control of that match and were able to take care of it late on. Palmeiras defeating, cross-league rivals Botafogo in their matchup. And now they meet here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on the 4th of July. What could be better than Independence Day in our, formerly Independence Day? Liberty Bell was there. That's all I know. George, what do you think about this matchup here?
Well, Dev, I wanted to point out that Bob DeVita in the chat saying that he'll be celebrating the 4th watching Chelsea. I believe he means live. He mentioned that in our Discord. I believe he is going to the game, so love to see that. Dev, this was the toughest one for me of the 4 matches here in the quarterfinals to handicap. I can't really split the teams. I don't really trust either team. I don't know enough about Palmeiras, and Chelsea can look good for periods and they can look bad for periods, and I don't really know what to do with this. I thought about the outright draw, but I decided to go somewhere I don't typically go, into the corners market here, because a lot of interesting data about how Chelsea have been playing under Maresca, getting a lot, winning the corner handicap quite often. Haven't done it in every game this tournament. The one where they didn't was against Flamengo, which was also the game they lost, and just did not cover themselves in glory in that match, down to 10 men later on in the 60th minute. But outside of that match, they have dominated the corner count, and the fact that this is only lined at minus 0.5 on the Asian handicap for corners, so basically Chelsea to have one more corner than Palmeiras at the end of the game, I think it's too good to pass up, because the way Chelsea play, possessing the ball, knocking it around, creating chances, you do tend to get corners. If they go behind, I like it even more, because they'll turn up the heat and they'll continue to earn corners most likely. So I think Palmeiras will have less of the ball here. I believe Chelsea will dominate possession, and that makes me like corners. So yeah, pretty simple one here. Chelsea minus 0.5 Asian handicap corners. So basically Chelsea to have one more corner than Palmeiras in this match.
Yeah, that's not bad, Jordan. I also had a really hard time with this, and so I just went right to the numbers here, and I see this lower total, right, 2.25, and you're telling me one of these teams is getting a half a goal here, so you can either win or draw at the end of the 90 minutes for Palmeiras. Always a good time to remind listeners that you are betting on the 90-minute match. You have to go to the to advance or to qualify market on whatever book you're using if you want to include extra time and possibly penalties. But if it goes that far, I will still cash because Palmeiras has that double chance here, the plus a half a goal. And look, lower total, pretty big spread for an underdog. That's pretty much where I'm at here. I think Chelsea are really good. I think they've really turned it up. And they keep adding players to the squad somehow. So they just got Joao Pedro, so I guess he's on the team now. And a weird little sort of sidebar here is that Chelsea will be going against a player that they already have in Estevao, the very young Brazilian, I guess he's a winger, striker, attacking player for Palmeiras here, who has already signed with Chelsea. He just hasn't joined the team yet. So it's kind of interesting. How will he approach this? You know, does he want to come in and like screw over his future teammates that he'll be meeting up with next month? Or does the coach just say, you know what, your head's not going to be right in this, so let's put you on the bench? Does he try to do too much? I could see anything happen here with that.
Yeah, and Dev, also Chelsea signing Jamie Bino Gittins, our young Englishman from another winger from Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, that's what they need. That's what they need.
Yeah,
more wingers.
So many wingers.
Chelsea, the club where attacking players go to die. So how many more careers can they ruin here? We'll find out. I guess unless you're Cole Palmer or Pedro Neto. But another big miss for Chelsea in this one of a player that won't be able to play is Moises Caicedo, suspended for this match after accumulation of yellow cards. I think he's really important to what they do in that base of midfield, controlling the games. So I think he's going to be a big miss, but we will see. Again, I think Chelsea, the better team here. The bookies think so too. I'm just going with the numbers play here, Jordan. Palmeiras on the double chance.
Love it, Dev.
Let's see what's going on in the chat right now. Bob DeVita, 87 wingers and 16 goalies. It does seem like
true.
that. I mean, at least they got rid of Kepa. Kepa's now on the Arsenal, but look, that's for a different Premier League podcast. So let's move on to our Saturday matchups, Jordan, the 5th of July, and it's an all-European side of the bracket over here. We've got Paris Saint-Germain against Bayern Munich. This one sees Paris as quarter goal favorites, and the total is set at a flat 3. Jordan, I took Flamengo to beat Bayern Munich, which in retrospect seems silly after Bayern put 4 past them. But to be honest, I felt like it was a little bit lucky. I don't know. Flamengo, I thought, accounted themselves well. Paris played the mercy rule, I thought, against Inter Miami, going up 4-0 in the first half and then saying, okay, well, let's not embarrass one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player of all time. Took their foot off the gas, but now these two giants of Europe have to face each other. It's a proper Champions League match, isn't it? So what do you think about this one, Jord?
It sure is a proper Champions League match, Dev, and I am excited for this one. For my money, these are the two best teams left in the tournament. It's a shame they got to meet here. Actually, it's not a shame. I'm excited we get this before a final. This is fantastic. I expect this one to be an entertaining one. As soon as it popped up, I knew I was going with goals. I see goals in this match. I could see goals at both ends. So it leads me to an easy handicap here, Dev, of both teams to score and over 2.5. The classic, tried and true, my favorite combination play. So, yeah, I thought about just taking the over 3 for the possibility of, these clean sheets that Paris have been keeping lately. But I just find it so hard to see Bayern not scoring. So, yep, taking it. Both teams to score and over 2.5. It's coming in at minus 125. A lot of my plays kind of around that juice this week, unfortunately. But look, if it cashes, I won't give a shit about
it. Yeah, it was a little bit too juicy for me, but I think your head's in the right place. I mean, there's got to be goals in this thing, right? The only thing that would hold me off is that sort of Paris controlling the ball. Well, both of these teams keep possession so well. who's going to win the possession battle? I'd almost want to bet on that because that's just pretty interesting on its own.
And they both play a high line, and they both press really well.
I was thinking about this, though, because I was thinking about this match. I was like, man, this is going to be tight. But do me this quick thing I'm throwing at you right now. Would you take any Bayern Munich player in a combined 11 over any of the PSG players?
Yeah.
Who?
I would definitely take Musiala and over Barcola, over Doué.
Okay, over Doué is a good one. I don't know if Barcola starts assuming Dembele's healthy.
Yeah, and I don't know that I necessarily think PSG don't really have a striker, so it's kind of hard to say, like, would Kane play well in that system? Probably not. It's not what he's suited to. But I think in terms of goal-scoring ability, I like him as a goal scorer better than any individual on Paris. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. But so midfield and back four and keeper. Keeper might be a toss-up. I mean, Neuer, one of the best to do it, right? And same with Donnarumma. So that just makes me like the Paris side of it. I still think they're the best team in the competition. Maybe they don't care as much. I don't know. Head-to-heads between these teams, we've actually seen them meet in the Champions League over the past couple of years, and it's been all Bayern Munich. Okay, back in that was this was November of this past year. We had Bayern 1-0 against PSG, and before that, Bayern had won 3 straight head-to-head beatings between these two. So what does that tell me? PSG's due. They're due to get one. So I'm taking PSG on the money line here, plus 120. Again, I still just think they're the better team, but I don't know what it is. I'm just not convinced by Bayern Munich. I continue to watch all their matches, and they win these games, and they're scoring goals, and they look really good. And something just makes me think they're shaky at the back. I don't know. Just makes me nervous for them. So I'm going to go with Paris here on the money line to get it done in the 90 minutes. They're favored by a quarter of a goal. I'm going to push that out to the full half a goal here at plus 120.
Yeah, definitely. You called it at the beginning of the tournament. You liked PSG to win this thing. So it makes sense that you're still backing him here. You knew Bayern was in the tournament all along. So you're sticking to your guns, and I respect it. PSG on the money line. Could totally see it cashing. I just hope it does so in a high-scoring affair.
Yeah, Jordan. Well, these two teams have both seen over 2.5 goals in 8 of the last 10 matchups across all competitions. Bayern not keeping a clean sheet in 3 straight matches. So that's something for you. But let's move on because there is one more matchup. Actually, let's see where this one is being. Oh, this is another nugget here, Jordan, I wanted to say, is that this game, PSG Bayern, is being played in Atlanta. So this has the roof. They have the indoor stadium, so I think that'll be quick moving, and the players won't be completely gassed after 15 minutes. So that should help your bet.
Yeah, that's where we want matches played, honestly. That's where City Al-Hilal was, right? Or no, that's where...
I think that was Miami.
Dortmund played.
Yes,
last night.
Dortmund, Monterrey,
Yeah, that was a pretty entertaining one. The games I've seen there, maybe this is just a gambler's fallacy, but I believe have been more entertaining. Maybe there's some correlation there. Bob in the chat once again with something pointing out, talking about Hakimi here. He says, our favorite shot on target player was at plus 125 last night with a 30% boost. I have him at plus 163. Love it, Bob. You just keep taking it. He will miss it sometimes, but it's like he misses 1 out of like 5 games. So you just keep taking it. And the good thing about the game where he does miss it is then the price gets back to a nice price the following game. So, yeah, totally love it. Love it.
That's right. I was short on the 2 advanced numbers here. PSG minus 150, Bayern plus 110. So let's move on to our final match, Jordan, and its familiar foes. It is Real Madrid against Borussia Dortmund. This one sees Madrid as full goal favorites at -1 and the total set at a flat 3. Jordan, this one kicking off in East Rutherford, New Jersey, the site of the final match of this competition, and I believe all of the semifinals. So these teams will be getting used to this one, but it is outdoor, kicking off at 1300 hours. So that's about 4 p.m. local time. So it could be hot. Could be hot once again. But what do you think about this one, Jordan, with these 2 European giants?
Yeah, Def, I actually sort of forgot about the fact that they're famous friends and know each other well because of a lot of Champions League meetings in recent seasons. Completely forgot about that. But you're right. These teams met in Champions League final not too long ago, couple seasons
right.
back, just two finals back. And while Real Madrid did win that one 2-0, I believe, and we cashed, I recall, Dortmund gave a good account of themselves. They were really frisky that entire campaign. And I think they're pretty frisky again under Niko Kovac here, Dev. I like what I'm seeing. Now, they can't do a complete 90 minutes. They're not consistent. But there are stretches of their games where they look like they can beat anyone. So they need to put that together, right? They need to be a little more consistent. We saw it the other night against Monterrey. They looked completely dominant for the first half and going into the second half. And then the wheels kind of came off and they were nowhere. And it just looked like it was inevitability that Monterrey were going to get back into it. Kovac made some changes, corrected it. Julian Brandt came in and really shored things up. I imagine he starts because Joe Bellingham will be suspended for this one. I think that'll help to get some more experienced guys out there, like a Brandt. I was kind of surprised he didn't come on earlier, or maybe Sabitzer starts, something like that. I think they're going to need the experienced guys in this one, but generally, this team's got goals in them. They're really frisky, end to end, and I haven't been entirely convinced by Real Madrid, although I do think Mbappe probably starts this one, and I am afraid of him coming in and making a big impact. I know he came on as a sub in the last game and didn't do anything, but I think he probably gets the start here. But regardless, I'm just not entirely convinced yet. We talked about it a little bit on the last show that Xabi Alonso probably hasn't had enough time to get his imprint on there. They have sort of looked like they've grown into the tournament, sort of working a little bit better together. But there's something about them that I'm not fully convinced on yet. I don't think they're of the level of the PSG or Bayern that we talked about earlier. And I'm not sure Dortmund are either, but they have been on a really strong unbeaten run going back towards the end of the Bundesliga season where they did end up finishing top four, which was their goal. So they really turned it on at the end of the season, and they seem to have continued that form. So long-winded way for me to say that I think +1 on the Asian handicap for Dortmund is too big. I could see it being a push, but I'm willing to bring that in as well because I just think it's too big. I think they could definitely force extra time. And depending on how things go with Madrid, how much they click, maybe Dortmund could nick it in the 90. I don't know, but I feel like there's too much value on that +1 for me to pass it up. So that's where I'm going. Dortmund, +1, -121.
Yeah, to lose that, you'd have to see Madrid win by multiple goals. So I think you're probably right about that. This just has 2-1 written all over it to me. And because of that, I'm going to go with Real Madrid on the money line here. But because the price isn't great, I'm going to parlay in over 2.5 goals in the match. You could even go with just the 2.5 and both teams to score because I think both teams will get on the score sheet here. We've seen over 2.5 goals in 8 of the last 10 Dortmund games across all comps. They also have no losses in 11. Real Madrid, no losses in 7. So these teams are both hot, and I take your point about not feeling right about Madrid. That's how I feel about Bayern, right? We both have a team that we just sort of aren't sure about, right? But I feel pretty good about this Madrid team. I watched all of that match against Juventus, and fucking Di Gregorio in goal stood on his head. 10 saves. 10 saves. Double-digit saves in that match. I cannot believe they didn't win by more. It sunk my over bet in that one, but I'm coming right back to the well because they put up a huge XG in that, over 2 goals, expected goals in that match. So I'm thinking they can do the same thing here. I think it'll be too much to and overwhelm Dortmund, who will probably get on the score sheet themselves. But because of all that, I'm just going to take Madrid to win, parlayed with the over 2.5. And I'm sorry that we won't get to see the Bellingham brothers go head to head. Right? Yeah. Job getting suspended. Job and Jude on opposite sides would have been a lot of fun to watch, but alas, no Job for this one due to yellow card accumulation. But should be a lot of fun. These two teams you mentioned, they met in that Champions League final, which was a 2-0 to Madrid. Then this past season, they had a rematch in the Champions League. Madrid won that one 5-2. Of course, that was in Madrid, so a little bit different circumstance there.
Yeah, Dev, I too am disappointed about that we don't get to see Job versus Jude because they look so similar as well, and they'll be playing. they play in positions where they will be seeing each other a lot, if, in terms of action on the pitch, and them looking like each other just would be so funny. It would remind me of like FIFA when you're playing like Ultimate Team and you both have the same player, and it's like, oh, Beckham tackles Beckham. It's like unreal. So that's probably the closest we could get to in real life.
Yeah, well, there should be plenty of time for Joe versus Jude in the years to come, I would think, as these two European giants continue to face each other. But, Jord, that's it. We got 4 of these matches. That's all we got left to do. And it's one thing to talk about these matches, but it's quite another to put our money where our mouths are and pay the bookie.
Chuck, I'm going to tell you something. You have that fucking 200 in my hands tomorrow. If you ain't got the 200 in my fucking hands tomorrow, I'll break every fucking bone in your body.
Well, Jord, let's go ahead and throw the official plays up on the screen. If you are listening to the podcast version of this, we will read these off for you. And we have 3 different cappers with 3 different sets of plays. Nick Diani, our friend from 2 shows ago, wasn't able to make it to this one, but we do have his plays. We'll give those out to you guys as well. But I'll get started with mine here. Jord, Fluminense Al-Hilal, under 2.5 goals at -121. Palmeiras against Chelsea. Palmeiras plus a half a goal on the Asian handicap, -125. Paris Saint-Germain against Bayern Munich. PSG on the money line here, +120. And then Real Madrid, Dortmund. Madrid money line and over 2.5 goals in the match at +115.
Right on, Dev. And I'm pleased to report that at least our plays, yours and mine, don't really have much oppo on here. I guess we're rooting for a 2-1 in Real Madrid versus Dortmund so that I can push and you can cash. At least there wouldn't be a loss in there. But I've got Al-Hilal 0.0 Asian handicap or Al-Hilal draw no bet. I've got Chelsea -0.5 Asian handicap corners. So Chelsea -0.5 corners, basically. -125 as well. PSG versus Bayern, both teams to score and over 2.5, -125 as well. And finally, Borussia Dortmund +1 on the Asian handicap, coming in at -121. Nick, on the other hand, Dev, does have some oppo here, as he's got Fluminense Al-Hilal over 2.5, which contradicts your under 2.5. So because they're both minus money, one of those will cash, one won't. And either way, it would lose us some money, so we won't put those on the combined total. Chelsea team total over 1.5 for Nick at +115. Jamal Musiala.
It's a bit of a that one's a bit of an oppo to mine with Palmeiras getting the double chance. I think if Chelsea do score twice, it's going to be pretty hard for Palmeiras to cover that number.
That's fair, but there is a world where they could both cash. Then we've got the aforementioned Jamal Musiala, 1+ shot on target, or 1 or more shots on target, -130. A little juicy there, but it's only 1 shot on target. If he starts, he's definitely getting that. Real Madrid, Dortmund, second half, over 1.5 goals, coming in at -130. So that's, just for there to be 2 or more goals scored in the second half alone. I like the way he's thinking about that there. And finally, Dortmund's own Karim Adeyemi to have an assist, not a scorer assist, just an assist, and that's at +600. He did tell me that was his long shot, not necessarily something he's putting up in the same weight as the others.
Right on, Jordan. Well, that's going to do it for us. If you guys made it this far, if you're watching live, if you're checking us out, please give us a follow, give us a like, give us a subscribe on this video so we can keep giving you guys picks. You can check out all of our stuff for the semis when we do a show for that one. We'll be going live again and the final, of course. And next season, we'll have all of our Euro bets that we like to give out each weekend. So be sure to check all that stuff out. And the best way to do it is to follow. So we'd appreciate it. Hit that follow, hit that subscribe button. Helps us out a lot. And Jord, that's going to do it for us. Any last words for the people?
I just want to thank everyone who tuned in live, and I want to thank everyone who's watching this later in the future. Appreciate it. Appreciate you checking it out. Thank you for spreading the word. It means a lot to us. We're really trying to grow this thing, and every little bit helps. Even the word of mouth shares. So thank you. And Dev, for you, I just want to say I like the plays. I think we're in a good headspace here. We're not taking crazy swings. I think we're capping these pretty reasonably, which is always probably advised after you have a rough round. But I don't think we overcorrected, which I think is important also. So, yeah, let's just hope to make some money And we'll do this again for the semifinals, Dev. The teams just keep dwindling down. The numbers are getting lower. So,
as you told me last week, it does half every time. There'll be half as many teams. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. Well, Jord, it's been a pleasure. Until next time, let's make some money.
Let's make some money.
Martial.